What is up, guys? It's the JT report here, back with my 2018 through 2019 NBA season preview, and we are here with my number 29 ranked team, the Chicago Bulls. So last offseason, we know the Bulls blew it up. They started rebuilding. Jimmy Butler gets traded to the Timberwolves. Dwayne Wade gets cut, and he goes to the Cavs, and later gets traded to Miami. And they're really left with, some solid players like Robin Lopez and Bobby Portis and Nikola Mirotic, nobody who could really get them over the top. But, they made do with what they had. Zach LaVine played some good games when he came back from injury. Kris Dunn really improved from the bust label that a lot of people gave him in Minnesota. So a lot of people believe that the Bulls have a bright future, and I tend to agree with them. So looking at what they did in the offseason, let's start with their draft. And they drafted Wendell Carter Jr., which I think is a really interesting fit for them. He's an undersized center, which is what I'm hearing they want to play him at. But he's very versatile. A lot of people have compared him to Al Horford, which is a very high bar to set for a rookie because Al Horford is known as being one of the most versatile big men in the game. But, if that works out, him and Lauri Markkanen are both very versatile, and that could make a very interesting big man rotation for them, Play them both together, that could be your offense, and, switch one of them out with somebody else, that'd be a very good rotation, I think, especially in an Eastern Conference that seems to be getting weaker every year. But, we'll have to wait and see how that goes because it could fit, it could not. Again, Wendell Carter's undersized. I believe he's 6'9". So at that center position, he's really going to have to step it up on defense if he's going to make it in the NBA. Because, you can do everything you want on offense, but if you can't play defense, you're never going to win. And then Chandler Hutchinson, he's a good all-around player from what I've heard. I don't know much about him, but, players like that are really valuable in the NBA because they're really hit or miss in terms of what they can do and what they can't do. So then they acquired one player through a trade, which was Julian Stone from the Hornets, and actually their only subtraction of the offseason was Jerian Grant, who ended up on the Orlando Magic. It was a 3-team deal. And Julian Stone, being a Hornets fan, I didn't watch many games last year, but the few I watched, I did not remember Julian Stone coming out. He was really one of those guys, I believe, that got minutes at the end of the season when they knew that there was no way that they were going to make the playoffs. So we'll see what he's going to do in Chicago. I feel like they're going to use him in the rotation as a probably backup point guard to Kris Dunn, but it'll remain to be seen. And then probably the biggest move that the Bulls made this offseason is they matched Zach LaVine's offer from the Sacramento Kings. He was a restricted free agent, and they matched his humongous offer. It was $80 million for 4 years, which for Zach LaVine, he was the marquee piece in that Jimmy Butler trade. And when he came back, he only played, I believe, like 25 games, 25 or 26 games. But in those games, he was all right. I mean, for what the Bulls needed, he could score, he can shoot. And, I mean, he has potential to be a very good player. And in this weaker Eastern Conference, he could actually be a all-star. So, I think it was good. The Kings definitely put them at a bad position in terms of how much money they'd offered him, but it's better that they went ahead and matched the offer and kept the marquee piece that they got back for Jimmy Butler than, just giving up for basically nothing. So if we look at their rotation, it's similar to last year, but of course we have Wendell Carter in there. We have Kris Dunn and Zach LaVine as your backcourt. I think that Zach LaVine will probably be switched out with Paul Zipser if he's still kind of struggling with those injuries. I don't really know how fast they're going to bring him back in. If I had to guess, they're probably going to throw him in relatively quickly, but that's just, a aside. Now at small forward, it's interesting because in the draft, I remember a lot of people thought Michael Porter was going to go here because they really needed a small forward, but they didn't. But they failed to get Michael Porter, and they failed to really get one, in free agency. The only one they have is Chandler Hutchinson and Denzel Valentine. So I think that they'll start Valentine, and they'll probably bring Chandler Hutchinson off the bench in the later part of the season. Then, of course, we got Lauri Markkanen, arguably their best player besides Zach LaVine. And then I really think they'll start Wendell Carter at the center. I think Robin Lopez is going to be a trade chip down the line, just a contract they can throw in a trade, especially next year, because I believe he's on a 2-year deal at this point, so he'll be an expiring contract. He has a decently big contract, so he'll be a great piece to try and trade. And then, looking at the bench, Zips or people along those lines, they have a solid rotation, but no players that are really of note. Bobby Porter, somebody like that, somebody who can score. So, they have a lot of streaky players, I'll say that. So they'll either go hot or they'll go cold. It'll just depend on the night. The thing I'll say to look out for this year is really just up to Wendell Carter. I really think Wendell could be a dark horse in terms of making the all-rookie first team. I can't see him really making like a case for being rookie of the year because there are just so many good rookies I feel like this year. And, we'll get to them later down the line. But, I really think that Wendell Carter, if everything goes right, he could be a gem in this draft. And if that's the case, the Bulls will hit once again. They've been known to hit with draft picks, going all the way back from Joakim Noah. And, of course, they got Derrick Rose, but that's not really the same as hitting big because everybody knew what he was going to be. But, Jimmy Butler is probably the best example of that. So if they got another player who can really be transcendent for their franchise, this could be huge. But anyways, guys, this has been my number 29 team, the Chicago Bulls. I will see you guys around when we get to my number 28 team next time. See you then.